If you're watching this, chances are you're feeling stuck and overwhelmed. Maybe you've slipped up again, or you're battling those intense urges that just won't go away. You're desperate to break free, but no matter what you try, it feels like you're caught in an endless loop. And deep down, you're frustrated with yourself, even feeling ashamed. Nothing seems to work, right? That's because most of the advice you've been given is leading you the wrong way. People say, just fight harder, use more willpower, push through. But here's the reality. That's the very reason you keep struggling. What I'm about to share with you will completely change the way you see this addiction. But first, you need to confront the harsh truth about why you're really stuck in this cycle. The real problem isn't what you're doing, it's how your own brain is deceiving you. You're failing because your brain has been hijacked. Every time you watch those videos, every time you give in to those urges, you're not just committing a sin or making a mistake. You're literally rewiring your brain's reward system. You see, Allah created your brain with an incredible natural reward system. When you accomplish something meaningful, your brain releases dopamine, giving you a sense of satisfaction and fulfillment. But here's the problem. Pornography hijacks this system. It floods your brain with an unnatural, overwhelming amount of dopamine. Over time, all that extra dopamine starts to mess with your brain. The things that used to make you happy or give you peace, like praying, spending time with family, or even working out, don't feel the same anymore. Your brain becomes so used to the intense highs from this addiction that nothing else seems satisfying, and it gets worse. The harder you try to quit by just forcing yourself or using pure willpower, the more the addiction fights back. You might hold out for a day or two, but eventually those urges feel too strong and you give in again. This is why cold showers don't work. This is why blocking websites doesn't work. These methods are only treating the symptoms while the real problem keeps growing stronger. What's really happening is this. Your brain has created what scientists call a superstimulus. Think of it like taking ordinary food and concentrating it into pure sugar. Your brain wasn't designed to handle this level of stimulation. That's why, when an urge hits, it feels impossible to resist. Your primitive brain, the part responsible for survival, literally believes this is something you need to stay alive. But here's the good news, and it's the reason I have hope for you. The same brain science that explains why you're stuck also reveals a way out. There's a method, simple yet incredibly powerful, that can help you break free from this cycle, and most people don't even know it exists. Fighting your addiction is dangerous. It tricks you into thinking that you're failing because you're not trying hard enough, because your iman is too weak, or because you don't want it badly enough. And every time you fail, those thoughts grow louder. You feel even more worthless, even more hopeless, and even further from Allah. But what if I told you that these relapses aren't even your fault? What if I told you that these cycles of quitting and relapsing are actually part of your brain's defense mechanism? You see, your brain thinks it's protecting you. Every time you try to quit, your brain perceives it as a threat to your survival. That's why the urges get stronger the longer you try to resist. Think about it. How many times have you made a strong intention to quit? You felt so motivated, so certain that this time would be different. You promised yourself, this is it. I'm done for good. And maybe for a few days or even a week, it felt like you were succeeding. But then out of nowhere, the urges become unbearable. They creep in, stronger than ever, and before you know it, you've relapsed. How did you feel after that? Probably worse than before. You felt like a failure, convinced you were broken. This is what's known as the deception cycle. The more you fight your addiction head-on, the stronger it fights back. The more you rely on motivation and willpower, the harder you fall. Each failure chips away at your self-trust. Over time, you stop believing in yourself. You start thinking, maybe this is just who I am. Maybe I'm too far gone. Here's something most people don't realize. Relapsing doesn't mean you've failed. In fact, it's a signal, a clue pointing you toward the real solution, a solution that works with your brain, not against it. When an urge comes, don't try to fight it, distract yourself, or bury it under guilt and shame. Instead, just sit with it and observe it. Watch it like you'd watch a cloud drift across the sky. Notice it, but don't get caught up in it. This approach is called urge surfing. Think of your urge as a wave. It builds up, reaches its peak, and then naturally crashes and fades away. Every urge you've ever had has eventually passed. This time is no different. The only reason they feel unbearable is because you panic and try to fight them. But when you stop resisting and simply observe the urge, you'll realize it's temporary. Modern science is only now catching up to something our Dean taught us over 1,400 years ago. Remember when Prophet Yusuf, A.S., faced the ultimate temptation? He didn't stand there and fight it. He didn't rely on sheer willpower to resist. Instead, as the Quran tells us, he ran. He didn't engage with the urge. He acknowledged that it was there and removed himself from the situation. This act of running wasn't a sign of weakness. It was a sign of wisdom. And this is why Allah refers to himself in the Quran as Al-Latif, the most subtle. Sometimes the solution isn't about fighting harder, it's about understanding deeper. Each time you resist the urge without fighting it, you're retraining your brain. You're breaking free from the deception cycle, one wave at a time. Each time you observe an urge and allow it to pass, you are actually rewiring your brain. You're teaching your primitive brain that these urges aren't threats and they aren't opportunities, they are just thoughts. So how can you use this method in your daily life? Step 1, pause. The moment you feel an urge coming, don't panic. Don't try to distract yourself or suppress it. Just stop whatever you're doing. Step 2, set a timer. Set a timer for 15 to 30 minutes. Remind yourself, my brain can handle anything for just 15 minutes. Step 3, observe the urge. Here's the moment that changes everything. Sit down, close your eyes, and observe where you feel this urge in your body. What's going to happen? At first, the urge will get stronger. Your brain will scream for attention. It will tell you, just this one last time. You can stop tomorrow. Start fresh tomorrow. This is normal. These are just thoughts. Let them come, let them go. You need to do this every single time an urge hits. Every single time. Why? Because each time you do, you're rebuilding a new neural pathway. You're teaching your brain a new response. Here's where most people get trapped. They try this once or twice, it works, and they feel a sense of relief. But then they let their guard down. They think, I'm cured, I've beaten this. And that's exactly when Shaitan strikes the hardest. You need to make this your default response to every urge for at least 90 days. Now let me show you how this method connects to your deen. When you're stuck in this addiction, Shaitan whispers lies into your heart. He makes you believe that Allah hates you, that you're too dirty to pray, too shameful to make dua. But what if I told you that this entire struggle is actually a sign that Allah wants you to come closer to Him? Think about it. Every time you relapse, what's the first thing you feel? Guilt, shame, a desperate need to ask for forgiveness. That guilt, that pull on your heart, that's Allah calling you back to Him. Even if it's just for a moment, your heart turns back to Allah. Allah is using these moments of struggle to call you closer. The question is, are you listening? Remember this, Shaitan doesn't waste his time on people who are far from Allah. He focuses on those who are trying to get closer. Your struggles are not a sign of failure. They are a sign that you are on the right path. They are a sign that Shaitan sees you as a threat. Let me tell you exactly what happens next. Most people will watch this video, feel motivated for a few minutes, and then go right back to their old habits. But you are different. You stayed until the end. Why? Because deep down, You know, this is your moment, your only moment to change everything. Here's what you learned today. Your brain has been hijacked. Stop battling your urges, start observing them instead. 15 minutes at a time. That's all it takes to begin rewiring your brain. The next time you feel an urge, and let's be honest, it will happen, remember what you've learned here. Pause for a moment. Set a timer for 15 minutes. Then, observe the urge. Just watch it, like you're watching a wave rise and fall. You'll see it will pass. If you're ready to take this journey further and need support, I'm here to help. I offer one-on-one coaching to guide you through breaking free from this cycle. You'll find the link in the description below. Just fill out the form and let's work on this together. And remember, Allah brought you to this video for a reason. This could be the turning point that changes everything for you. I'll see you in the next video.